What is up, guys? You got NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we're taking a look at another silver breakdown area. We are once again revisiting probably my favorite grind spot in the game, Cadry Ruins. I've always liked this spot, even in the very, very early game when it used to be difficult grinding there, and it's kind of always stuck with me. I've probably covered it 3 times, maybe this is the fourth. This is the third or fourth time I've probably covered this spot at this point, but things keep changing over the years, and we got some new updates to this spot as well. What has changed most recently? Well, number one, I haven't visited here since T5 Pets existed, which is definitely going to have some impact. The loot's been altered around from, of course, its first iteration. It's drastically different. And we also saw a change very recently to the elites, and just yesterday we got a change to how gatekeepers are going to spawn here. So as you see in the clips running, the elites now spawn. They're no longer at their regular spawn location, so channel hopping for elites is not a thing anymore. They are going to spawn randomly when you're looting enemies. So it's a rare spawn based on triggering rare loot. That means the more loot percentage you have, the higher chance you have of triggering them. And then we also have the gatekeepers, which do the same thing. They're quite a bit more rare than the elites are as far as spawning, and you'll see all that when we dive into the data for it. The other benefit to this is if you happen to have a treasure event running, both the elite and the gatekeepers will continuously spawn enemies, and a lot of them, by the way, like a whole lot of them. They'll continuously spawn enemies while they're alive, and then when you kill the elite and gatekeeper, they'll have a final wave that spawns as well. Most of the enemies in this are actually the armored fighter, which is the mob that drops the blood wolf infinite HP piece. So if the event is going on, the treasure event where that piece also drops in Cadry, you're going to have a really, really, really solid chance of getting that thing to drop. I actually did in the 8th hour of this video, although I already have the infinite HP pot. I now have an additional piece, so we'll see what I do with that in the future. But just keep that in mind. It's strictly better than Blood Wolves, both in money and even in pot piece grinding. It's completely unrivaled because those elite spawns just make it so much nicer. And you can grind this easily in season gear. The requirements are extremely low. The gatekeepers are, a little tanky, obviously. At 3 trillion AP that I have, I burn them in about 15-20 seconds or so. But even if they take you a 1 minute, like I said, they're continuously spawning mobs, so you're actually going to get more trash than you would if you were zipping around killing mobs. Which is really nice. So there's really no drawback at all. And their loot is really, really nice. The elites have really good chance to drop your Blackstone bundles, which are pretty lucrative. Caphras Stone, Spirit Dust. They almost always drop a scroll. I have seen 1 or 2 that I noticed that didn't drop a scroll. The Gatekeeper, he can drop between, I believe, it's probably 1 to 5 Caphras Stones, but I never saw one drop only 1. I've seen a spread of 2 to 5 Caphras Stones on him. A ton of dust. The exact number ceiling, I don't know, but I've seen him drop as many as 40 and I believe even in the 50s as far as Spirit Dust. Blackstones as well. He drops a bunch of weapon and armor as well, up to 40 stones. I believe his spread is 30 from 30 to 40. He'll drop a set amount of each, so you're talking up to 80 Blackstones just dropped off him alone. I've always seen him drop a scroll. I can't say he always does, but I've always seen him drop a scroll for me as well. And then of course he's got trash loot just like everything else, and you get a ton of trash loot off all the other mobs you're killing during it. So very upgraded spot compared to what we used to see, and it's pretty good money as you saw in the title. But let's jump on over to the spreadsheets and take a look at what we've got here. So here we have the spreadsheets, and to break these down, because this is a Valencia zone that has the trash loot limit, where the way that works is if you use no loot scroll, you get 1 trash loot from every mob no matter what. If you use a blue, you will still only get 1 trash loot no matter what. If you use a yellow, you'll get 2 no matter what. If you use a blue with Agris, you will get 3 no matter what. And if you use yellow with Agris, you will also only get 3 no matter what. So that means if you're grinding this spot, you're either going to be using a yellow, no loot scroll if you want to, a yellow loot scroll to get 2 trash loot, or you're going to use a blue loot scroll with Agris. Now, is that worth your time doing? Let's kind of break down our numbers and see. What I've done here is, since it's a set amount, 2 or 3, I actually grinded these out with Agris, so this is what I actually did for it. And then we can just use a little bit of math to change if those, instead of dropping 3 on every mob we killed, it only drops 2. We can generate exactly what it would have been if we did it with just the yellow scroll instead of the blue with Agris, and that kind of gives us our differences here. So my peak for this was, we actually did this one last night on stream, 840, almost 849, about 850 million silver. That was definitely a peak, and it was a pretty wild hour. in general. Just things to note: I had 5 ring drops, 12 Yona fragments on it. I didn't get a Spectre's energy drop there, but if I had, we'd have been approaching 900 mil. Those don't drop very often, obviously. Ton of ring pieces on here. The reason for this is I had 12 elite spawns and also 2 gatekeeper spawns. I've had 2 gatekeepers spawn again only one other time in the same hour, and you can see I broke 800 mil on that hour as well. So this averages out to 686. The things that are important to note is, yes, it's a 686 average, which is great. We are using Agris. There's obviously better spots to use Agris for that set amount, and you really want to look at what our highest versus our lowest was, because this is a massive, massive swing. You can see it only 6 elites spawned here and roughly the same trash loot on it. It varied because I used different characters at different times depending on what I was feeling, since it's a one-shot spot. And the spread is 557 on the low end up to 848 on the upper end. So we're talking about 300 mil, a little under 300 mil difference in those drops, giving us that average out at 686. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, is it worth doing with Agris? No, not really. And the reason for that is we see a little bit less than a 100 mil difference using your blue scroll with Agris here. If you just use the yellow scroll, then we have our high end being 759, about 760 there, and then the low end being 473, which is actually really nice for just a yellow scroll spot there. 2 hours over 700, several right around the 600, and then a few in the low 500s, and that one in the 400. I don't know what's going on with the RNG gods there. So this place is just insanely good money with yellow scroll only for being a one-shot spot. As far as like Agris usage, I don't particularly recommend it unless you just want to, or you like the grind zone like I do. It's not terrible, but you could just run Centaurs, of course, for your Agris. However, Centaurs is not super amazing when you don't have Agris, so if you've burnt through that, definitely an option if you want to do a one-shot spot, and if you are looking for that Blood Wolf pot piece and the treasure event is running so that it will drop at Cadry like it is right now, I highly, 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 highly recommend you go to Cadry. Like I said, I did get the piece to drop in my 8th hour on there, and it was actually while I was killing an elite and the mobs that spawn around him, because again, like I said, there's so many armored fighters that he spawns, which is each one of those is a chance to get the full pot piece. Of course, every mob there can drop you the pity pieces that go. So I definitely enjoyed this grind a lot. Again, it's been one of my favorite spots for a long time. You get a high number of scrolls. I was actually running these in my downtime when I was like sitting in meetings for work and whatnot, because it's kind of hard to actually grind, but you can mindlessly do scrolls. And then I just started selling them off like I normally do. Other than that, it's, it is what it is. Caphras peaks were up to like 58, but never less than 30, I believe. So yeah, it's not too bad for that kind of thing. You can see the one where I had 2 gatekeepers here. They dropped a ton of extra dust on that. Other than that, it's nothing super amazing. Just kind of depends on those elite spawns. I highly recommend checking it out. Give it a few hours, see what you think. Just run it with the yellow scroll. Unless you happen to have capped Agris or something and you're not going to grind the rest of the day, then go for it. But it's definitely worth taking a look at. I'm going to continue doing some of these revisited ones, especially when we're looking at things for pot piece. So I'll probably have the next one do Crescents. It also drops the Ronaros piece with it. Kind of burn that down. It has not the elite spawns that Cadry does, but it does have the gatekeeper change. So we could see some decent swing in money. I anticipate it's going to be drastically lower than this one, just because we don't have those elite spawns to kind of metal that out. And you can see it's not just gatekeepers that do it, but getting a high number of elite spawns for it is what's gonna really help you out there. So check it out, see what you think. Let me know in the comments below what you're doing. If you want to see me actually grinding these hours, including the pot piece one was off stream, but if you want to see these 3 I just did on, if you're watching this the day the video released, I just did these 3 on stream last night, so you can check out the VOD. I can actually put a link to that in the description if you want to see me actually grinding these out. And then these were actually done on Saturday or Sunday's VOD as well. The last 3 I finished up today, but those were off stream, so I don't have these 3 with the pot piece, but you saw the clip in the beginning of the video, so there you go. That's going to be it for this one. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos do go live. And if you'd like to catch me playing live, there's a link to my Twitch page in the description down below. So jump on over there, drop a follow. And you'll get notifications for that as well. Lastly, I do want to say there is also currently an event going on with Pearl Abyss. They are doing a partnership with their partners where if you purchase a coin, getting pearls yourself, and you're not on Steam, you're doing it through the regular website, you can use a code. Mine is NTW for NotTheWorst, just NTW on that code, and they will give us a small commission, 5% commission of the sale on that. It doesn't cost you anything, just helps out us little guys creators. So if you are thinking of picking up some pearls, maybe consider dropping that code in there. And if not me, then any of your other favorite BDO partners that are doing it as well would obviously be greatly appreciated if you do that. That's going to be it for this one. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.